Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast, the ultimate blueprint to self-love and inner peace. I'm your host, Danielle Band. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, a life coach to women, meditation teacher, and author, I've spent my life studying and learning from the stories that make us human. It's my passion and goal to help you shift your mindset and create a lifelong revolution to help you reach your greatest potential. As we continue to deep dive into the five masters of our lives, we lean into the physical and mental aspects of our well-being. What we think, feel, and even how we eat impacts us more than we realize, just as our daily practices either own us or support us. It's no secret that across the globe, many are ditching their unhealthy plates and leaning into eating plant-based or even with a plant slant. The research is astonishing, as plant-based eating is up 300% in the US, 360% in the UK, 250% in Canada, and 400% in Portugal. And even China is encouraging its 1.3 billion person population to reduce their meat intake by 50%. With so much evidence and research driving us towards eating with a plant slant or plant-based, to support our mental, emotional, and physical health, I sat down with dear friends of mine, physicians on the leading edge of lifestyle medicine, Dr. Munish Chawla and Dr. Bandana Chawla, lovingly known as Dr. M and Dr. B. Together, we talk about the impact of diet, how to make micro changes toward eating more plants, and they hand over small shifts to help you bring yourself into a healthier lifestyle. This conversation is filled with ways to better your health, one plate at a time. So let's dive right in. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast starts right now. I am thrilled today to be having a conversation about lifestyle medicine, about plant-based lifestyle with two people that I consider not only friends, but personal heroes of mine. They were very instrumental in helping my daughter gain control of her health, and just people that show up and really create change in the community. And so I'm thrilled to have you both. Please introduce yourself and kind of tell us what you do.
Oh, I'm Bandana Chawla. I'm board certified in internal medicine and lifestyle medicine, and we are absolutely thrilled to be here, Danielle. And we are big fans of yours as well, and what you do in the mindfulness community and woman empowerment.
And I'm Munish Chawla. In my previous life, I guess I'm still board certified in diagnostic radiology, and all of my energy is devoted to lifestyle medicine, whether we do that in the clinic or we do it in the community through our nonprofit. So really glad to be here, and thank you for all the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you. It's a beautiful partnership that we have, and I'm so excited to have you on. Let's first talk about what lifestyle medicine is. A lot of people don't really understand what that term is, and the reason why we're talking about it today on the podcast is because it is so instrumental in mental health and emotional health as well. We always talk about the five masters of our lives: mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual health. And I really feel like lifestyle medicine hits all five of those masters.
So lifestyle medicine is a new diagnostic specialty. This came about, initially it started in 2004 in Loma Linda. And there were a group of physicians who were realizing that, we're spending all this money on procedures and pills and research, and yet the chronic diseases in this country, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, they keep climbing.
Right.
They said, okay, clearly we're missing something. So they kind of, they were revolutionaries in a sense. They were saying there's got to be a better way. And they dug up all the research on how diet and lifestyle affects these chronic diseases. And slowly this organization kind of grew strength.
American College of Lifestyle Medicine.
American College of Lifestyle Medicine is what was formed in 2004. Thank you. And, it was sort of puttering along. And then in 2015, it gained a lot of attention from other institutions. So it sort of became nationwide and soon became international. And what the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine is eating a plant predominant diet, eating whole foods. And we'll kind of get into that and, explore that a little bit further. Regular physical activity, finding healthy ways to manage stress, focusing on emotional health in addition to physical health. and also reminds people that sleep is very important. And the other two pillars, it has 6 pillars, and the other 2 pillars are community, loving and supportive relationships.
Yeah.
And the last is staying away from cigarettes and really limiting alcohol and also eliminating other substances.
Those are the pillars that we focus on. I want to say, Munish talked about American College of Lifestyle Medicine, but American Board of Lifestyle Medicine then later got created in 2015.
2015.
We were recently at a conference, the end of 2022. And last time we were there was 2019 before the pandemic. And at that time, there were 3,000 members in the US, and now there are 9,000 members.
Wow.
So it was just so wonderful to see so many other physicians of so many different fields, right? We saw endocrinologists and rheumatologists and vascular surgeons and radiologists and internal medicine and pediatricians. So they're all in different fields, but they're also, along with their own field, board certified in the new field of lifestyle medicine. So they're bringing it into their practice and helping their patients and whatever specialty needs that they have. Also telling them how lifestyle medicine can also be a therapeutic option.
Yes, absolutely. You know what question I've never asked either of you, and it just dawned on me. How did you get interested in changing what you were doing every day to moving into this lifestyle medicine?
So I'll let her go first.
Because I was exposed to it first, and then he was exposed to it through me. So I was already starting to talk to my patients a little bit more about healthy diet, exercise, yoga, meditation, different things. And at that time, my kids were teenagers, and they would tease me saying, "Mommy is becoming kind of a hippie doctor."
That's okay.
2017, one of my Facebook friends, who's a physician, posted that she's now board certified in the new field of lifestyle medicine. So it was Facebook that I was exposed to lifestyle medicine through. And so I'm like, what is this? And I look it up, and I look up the pillars of lifestyle medicine and how, the data about how CDC reports that over 80% of chronic diseases in today's world are due to diet and lifestyle, and yet we're kind of ignoring it in medical practice. And then I come home that day and I tell my 2 teenage sons that actually I am going to be a lifestyle medicine doctor. That's the correct term. And so I start studying for the exam, and he gets very interested, and he says, "You know what, why don't I take the exam too?" And neither one of us know what we're going to do with this.
Right.
And he takes the board exam with me and scores like 2 points higher, I think.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So, she is starting to employ lifestyle medicine, with her patients, and we take walks in the evening, oftentimes after dinner. And she's telling me so-and-so patient, I was able to reduce their cholesterol medicine or diabetes medicine.
Or take off altogether.
Or take them off altogether. And I'm like, I don't remember this in medical school, that, taking off medications. So I really got interested. And that's when I said, okay, if she's studying for the boards, at this time, our kids are like 13, 14, 15, and kind of in that range. And they're sort of on autopilot, they don't need us as much. So I said, okay, I have free evenings. So I started studying too. And like she mentioned, we really didn't have any plans, but she was already incorporating lifestyle medicine in her internal medicine practice.
Right.
So when someone would come in with diabetes, immediately most physicians would say, okay, what is the appropriate medication is needed?
Right.
You were giving your patients a choice. We can make these diet and lifestyle changes, or we can, give you this medication. So I, on the other hand, all I was doing, or my plan was to do, is to educate other physicians. So I worked in an inpatient hospital. My radiology practice was inside one of the memorial hospitals. And my plan was to educate the other physicians that I have contact with in the lunchroom. And, other folks that I see every day, other technologists, other radiologists, just kind of let them know that this is a specialty that really works. And the other part, maybe I should have mentioned previously, in addition to the 6 pillars, what lifestyle medicine does, it puts the patient in charge of their health destiny. This is something, we show you the data, and we kind of coach them on how to bring these wonderful diet and lifestyle, tools into their life. but ultimately they're in charge of their life. So this specialty is very patient-centric. This is something I found really empowering, that, if you have a diagnosis of diabetes or high blood pressure, it's not something you are destined to have for the rest of your life. If you're willing to make enough changes, you can actually reverse these diseases. So that's something I really found very useful. And slowly, one thing led to another. My radiology group got sold.
In the hospital, you already started doing like once a week mindfulness meditation with, the techs or other people who would come by. And once a month, they started doing plant-based potlucks for the hospital employees, whoever wanted to join in. So you were starting to make some things.
Right. So we were trying to, spread the word. And, one thing led to another. Dr. B went from a part-time practice when the kids were in school. You were as a part-time internal medicine physician.
They started going off to college.
So they were kind of getting ready for college, and we were going to open a new clinic, a little bit larger space. So I said, okay, maybe I'll just work part-time and see, how we can bring lifestyle medicine and see if folks are interested and see if this is something, when you read the research, it's very, illuminating. You say, okay, wow, this can be done. But having a patient that sits right in front of you and they reverse their diabetes, when you remove that last medication, there's tears. Usually, they are just, it's so unbelievable that they thought they were destined to have this diagnosis and all the complications that go along with it for the rest of their life. And when we tell them, okay, you don't have diabetes anymore, your diabetes is in remission.
Yeah.
And if you stay on this healthy diet and lifestyle, you don't need to worry about this. So it's a different feeling. And eventually I said, okay, I enjoy radiology, but I don't love radiology. I love lifestyle medicine. This is where my heart is. This is really what I want to do. And it just kind of ties in nicely with our, nonprofit as well. So what we do in the clinic, we do very similar things in our nonprofit. And I know we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. Would you have ever imagined that a Facebook post would bring you to where you are right now? I mean, you're doing such incredible work in the community with your patients. We can talk about my own daughter here in a second, about what has occurred for her. But would you have ever imagined that this is the journey you would have ended up on?
No, not at all. And this is, it's like
I never imagined even working with him.
Oh, come on.
So we'd been married 21 years. 21 years, he was at the hospital. That was, how it was. And I was at an outpatient clinic, and we wouldn't see each other, except for a couple of hours in the evening and an hour in the morning. And now his desk is like
next door.
So it took a little bit of getting used to.
Understand that completely.
None of this I would have imagined.
Well, you're doing such amazing work. Let's talk for a moment about my daughter, because I think it's always important for people to understand this actually does work, and that it's not just, us talking about a concept or an idea. My daughter, we've shared her story on the podcast. She was in kidney failure. She lost a kidney. We couldn't figure out for the life of us later on why she was always in pain. She was then diagnosed with several autoimmune diseases. We came to you saying, because of the surgery and because of these situations, she'd gained some weight. She was not feeling well. And, Dr. M, you took over and really gave her what you were talking about, which was control over her health. It's so amazing.
Thank you. And, I really want to commend your daughter, because I had not worked with a young.
She was 14 then, I think.
13 or 14 at the time. You and I had talked beforehand, and I was a little bit nervous about working with someone, who is pediatric age less than 18.
Right.
But, after, I had met you, and I knew you would be there every step of the way supporting her. And I met her, and she was so mature for her age.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, this is someone, just talking 20 minutes with her, she gets it and she wants to do this.
Right.
And these are the same tools that we talked about earlier, about eating healthfully. And this is, one of the challenges that people have. They get the idea, okay, they need to eat more plants. They need to reduce, animal products, they need to reduce processed food. But what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? And this is where you came in. She says, okay, I am a wonderful cook, and I'm going to make sure that, whatever you and I decide, and all three of us decide, what's best for her, that's how we're going to move forward. So, I mean, she did fantastic. She, did great with the diet, great with the physical activity. And also, a lot of these changes, especially when folks have a diagnosis for a number of years, it's no longer a physical illness itself. It takes a toll on the mental and the emotion. And this is where I think, she really shined. You were already introducing her, or you had introduced her to tools of mindfulness and other healthy tools. But I think, your daughter is no different than my son or anybody else's. Whatever your parents say, it's in one ear, out the other. So I was basically saying what Danielle had been saying all along. But for some reason, she listened and, she incorporated healthy mindfulness tools and meditation and other tools of breath work and, stretching and yoga, these sort of things. And all these together and having a loving and supportive community at home. All these together allowed her to heal. And she was the one who made this possible. We just introduced her the tools. We just said, okay, this is, sort of the path forward. But this is the thing about lifestyle medicine. The person has the choice, person has the empowerment, they can do it, but they have to walk the walk. And this is something, we as physicians, as coaches, as lifestyle medicine physicians, we can coach them, we can guide them, we can use the latest science from mindfulness, from compassion, from behavioral psychology, and really kind of pave the way to make it it's not going to be easy, but, as easy as possible. But the person has to take charge, and that's what your daughter did. And I'm just so thrilled that she's doing so well. We recently got a chance to see her maybe about a month ago, and, I'm just thrilled to see how wonderful she's doing.
Yeah, she was excited to see both of you. And she's like, I hope that they feel like I'm still doing well. I'm like, oh, honey, you can see it. You can see how great you're doing. One of the biggest parts of that you just said was the person doing the work. Of course, what I do, what we talk about here on the podcast, that is so essential that if you don't take your own healing into your own hands, have the coach, have the physician, have the therapist on hand to help you move forward. But if you don't do the work, it doesn't matter. You mentioned the food. Let's talk about more plants. It's no secret for those that listen to this podcast that I have been plant-based for many, many years. I was before Madison met you guys. And, that was an easy transition for her because mom was already doing it. But for those that are not plant-based, can they add more to their diet where it doesn't feel overwhelming?
Sure. Yeah. So I can talk about this first, since, my patients all the time, I'm helping them move in that direction. So I don't expect my patients or my kids or anybody else to go from a regular standard American diet to a whole food plant-based diet. It's a journey. And some of us like to take bite-sized steps, small steps, and some of us can take leaps at times. But mainly, many of my patients say they can't be plant-based, but there are new terms now that they really like. Like some of them will say, well, I can eat with a plant slant, or I can eat a plant predominant diet, or I can start moving plant forward a little bit. And for some people, it's easier to just do one meal, start with one meal a day that is plant-based. So for many people, breakfast is the easiest. So if they can do like green smoothie or rolled oats or oatmeal or overnight oats, or, maybe avocado toast or other things, then 1/3, if it's a big breakfast, like I encourage a really big breakfast and I eat it myself, then it's a good 1/3 of your calories that are plant-based already. And then later in the day, you do what you can to add on more, maybe have a side salad with your lunch, or maybe add on more fruit for dessert instead of dessert with processed sugar and carbs and things. So for some people, they like to do maybe start off with one day a week. So meatless Mondays or something like that, to where one day a week is plant-based. And as they start incorporating more and more plant foods in their diet and they start feeling better, then it starts becoming sustainable to keep moving forward.
Right.
What's been your experience?
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I really, when Bandana was talking, she was always saying adding something. So one of her mindset is that, what do I have to give up? And people oftentimes they kind of get, oh, I have to give up my favorite this or favorite that. And we come in that, okay, you can keep what you want to keep. We just want to add in these plant-based foods. Right. So over time, they feel, okay, I'm doing this, maybe my symptoms, my pain is a little bit less. Maybe my physical health and emotional health, mental health is a little bit better. It becomes motivation from the inside that nobody else needs to tell you that this is the right way to go. So when you see those changes from the inside, then as Dr. B was saying, those changes become sustainable. So we really try, at least in the beginning and along the journey too, like what can we add on to your diet that's going to make a difference? Maybe adding a green smoothie, maybe adding a salad, maybe adding more fruit. And as you add those things in, automatically, without even trying, other things decrease. And, it just makes it easier
like
that way.
For myself, when I started adding green smoothie to my breakfast, I automatically took off my mid-morning snack because I didn't need it anymore because the green smoothie kept me full till lunchtime.
Right. That was something big for me that I wasn't doing. And then I realized when we started doing it with Madison, my daughter, and now it's just a thing that we do every day. And I can tell when I don't have it. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. Why? Oh, I didn't drink my green smoothie. Right.
No, you notice you start reaching for something and you start looking for some snacks and you're like, why am I getting hungry at 11 a.m. when usually I'm okay till 1 p.m.? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's such a great way to add something more. What I always find interesting is when people ask, this is always something they'll say, what do you do about your skin? Why is your skin so clear? I'm like, oh, it's the way I eat. It's the water, right? It's exercise, it's lifestyle. We talk about that so often. And I'll say, well, I'm plant-based. And they'll say, oh, I could not eat a salad for every meal. A lot of people still have that mindset that plant-based is salad and raw vegetables. Can you kind of break that myth?
Right. So this is the wonderful thing about going plant-based. And, our diet today is probably more varied than it was. And, I was an omnivore, let's say 10 years ago, and you were vegetarian. But even so, once we became sort of whole food plant-based, really eating, maybe we can kind of explore that a little bit, but just to kind of stick with your question, that our diet, is much more variety than it was before. There are literally like hundreds of different types of potatoes and sweet potatoes. And then you learn about ethnic foods. What do folks in Ethiopia eat? What lentils, what beans? What are folks doing in Japan or in the Pacific Rim?
And you try bok choy and other foods that you've not tried before.
Right, exactly. So, we do Chinese food and Vietnamese food and Thai food, and all of these Pacific cultures, they have a lot of plant-based options. And, then we get exposed to Ethiopian food and Italian food and Mexican food. So our palate has really enlarged after becoming plant-based. So you don't have to eat everything raw. It's not just vegetables. You can be really creative with beans and tofu and tempeh and whole grains. I mean, it's just a cornucopia. I mean, it's just, we enjoy our food even more. And it's one of the things that's really been a blessing.
Yeah. And it's, again, a journey. If you don't like salads, it's okay. Actually, the first 2 or 3 years after we went vegan, you didn't eat. This is a vegan person who doesn't eat salad.
You go, what are you going to eat?
He just didn't want raw foods at that stage. Now he eats a lot more raw than before. But there's, like you said, there's lentils and there's beans and there's whole grains and there's nuts and seeds and tubers and vegetables and fruits. And there's just so much in the plant kingdom that if there is something that you don't like, I have a lot of patients who are even allergic to soy. They're like, you would think that they wouldn't be able to be plant-based, but they're like, well, soybean is just one bean. There's so many other beans that I can eat. And you can totally not do soy and still be plant-based and not do gluten. So much variety.
Yeah, I just want to kind of underline, when you first get started, it is not unusual to have that mindset.
Right.
But this is where it's important to kind of stay with it, learn from other folks, go to different maybe Facebook groups or other sort of meetups. And like we have a plant-based potluck in our clinic. So, since the pandemic, the slowly increasing the number of people that are coming. But, if we have a special guest from out of town, last time we had Dr. Clapper, and we had like over 54 people. And literally we had 40 plant-based dishes.
Right.
And some of the folks were introduced that, they were kind of just interested in they were veg curious. And they were just amazed at the variety of food that was there. They said they had like no idea that all these wonderful foods are available to me. And they're not only plant-based, they're healthy plant-based. So
no oil, no sugar. So even these desserts are made with dates and applesauce and things, and there's no processed sugar, and yet they taste so good. So I encourage you to find a nearby, and if you're in the Houston area, you're welcome to come to our clinics once a month, plant-based potluck, so you can try different things and what you like, and just start off, just slowly. You don't have to be plant-based right away. Just there must be some things that you like. Just eat more of them. For some of my patients had sweet potatoes. So I'm like, okay, just start with eating more sweet potatoes every week.
And we live in such a digital age right now. There is not a space on the internet that you cannot Google a recipe and find something. And the other thing too, and I see this a lot when I'm talking with people that come and see me, and we're talking about those 5 masters of our lives. And I say, the physical element, if you're eating a lot of that oil and refined sugar and processed food, it does impact us mentally. Can you look at your favorite recipe and just make the swaps? It's very simple, right? What can you put in place of the meat or the cheese or the dairy? What is it? And really think about the whole aspect of what you're eating, because it does impact us mentally.
Yes,
absolutely. It affects our physical health, as you mentioned, affects our skin, affects us mentally and emotionally. And that's the wonderful thing, that, you may do this because you have diabetes or a few extra pounds. And then you start noticing, oh, I've got less pimple.
Right.
I feel a little bit better. And, you had one patient.
Yeah, I've had several since then, but that was my first one that kind of surprised me. He wasn't 100% plant-based, maybe like 90%, to reverse his gout, fatty liver, and diabetes. Even though he was only in his 20s, high 20s, and maybe like 28, he had all of these issues already. So he started going mostly plant-based. And then when I saw him back, we were taking off a lot of medications, and I came across his antidepressant, and he said, "Oh, I already took that one off." I was like, wait,
What?
Psychiatrist, and are you doing okay? And how come you didn't tell me? And he was like, no, as I was eating healthier and doing these things, I realized I didn't need it anymore. And actually I've been off for 6 months and I've been doing fine. And that made me look it up to see what information there was about it. And actually what I found out is there's several mechanisms on how it does help the mood. One of them being our gut microbiome. So increasing fiber in our diet feeds the healthy gut bacteria. And these healthy gut bacteria help us make more serotonin in the gut. So now they say serotonin is made more in the gut than the brain even.
Right.
So since then I've had other patients who have noticed and actually came across this article that I really like. Darren Morton, if you guys want to look him up, he's Australian psychologist and he has a LIFT project that's really nice. But part of his article on using lifestyle medicine and positive psychology for mental and emotional well-being, he goes into these catchy phrases. One of them is food feeds mood.
Right.
And he gives the research on how increasing the number of servings of fruits and vegetables in your day, how in this large British study showed improvement in mood. And then motion creates emotion, which is another lifestyle medicine pillar of exercise and movement. Blue and green should often be seen. So being outdoors and, seeing blue and green sky and trees and everything helps our mood. Yeah. So I often give my patients that article too, because it brings in the same stuff we're talking about.
Yeah. So what do you feel is the biggest other than people coming in and we're experiencing all these things to begin with, but what are some of the biggest blockers that you see, or maybe even attitudes of taking charge and changing and getting used to making these changes within our diets? What are some of those biggest blockers that you see?
Yeah, oftentimes it's just people just haven't heard about the science and they don't really believe that it works. But usually that's not a big one. You know, once you kind of introduce them to the research, they say, okay, I see that it works. But oftentimes they say, okay, it may work in the research or it may work for, you know, some of your patients, but I don't think it'll work for me. And this is, you know, sort of that self kind of doubt. And, you know, to really kind of explain this, they may have tried several other things. And usually this comes up most often in weight loss. You know, it's more women than men that'll come in and they've tried 5 different things. They have lost the same 30, 40 pounds several times, and they just don't think that they are capable of doing it. So this is, you know, where the empowerment comes in and really sort of showing them the science and not just sharing the science, but kind of coaching them how to do this, how to make this sustainable. And this is why we spend considerable time on saying, okay, there's some things, you know, I want you to jump in with the attitude that you're going to do this, you know, give it a good try. But I don't want you to kind of jump in with the attitude that you're going to change your life, you know, do 180 in 1 week or 2 weeks. And even if you do a program, you know, let's say with me for 12 weeks and you're doing really well, but if you're not focusing on the routines, not focusing on the small habit changes, it's not going to be sustainable. So one, it makes the ride a little bit easier, you know, just going to go slow. And slowly you pick up, you know, okay, I can make this pretty easy, or I can, you know, take this time out for exercise, or this is, you know, before I go to bed, maybe I can do some breathing exercises. So slowly getting them to make small changes. And, you know, after 3, 4, 6 weeks, they notice, okay, they can do this. They can do it at their own pace. You know, I tell them this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So just kind of letting them say, whatever place you're at is perfect. Okay, we're not trying to do a 2.0 in 1 week or even a month. So just getting them to believe that they can actually do it is one of the biggest obstacles. Another obstacle I would say is community. So many, you know, friends and family, you know, they kind of buy into it. They're noticing changes themselves, but oftentimes, you know, they kind of go back and forth a little bit. Everybody around them, you know, they don't see the value of eating healthy. They don't see the value of, you know, focusing on emotional health. So this is where community really helps. So whether you are part of a Facebook community or you come to our events that we do in the clinic, that we really try to create an ecosystem for our patients. So they have a place for meditation, for yoga, for cooking classes, for plant-based potlucks, as we mentioned before. So this is just something really helpful for a lot of folks. And I'll let Dr.
That community is a big one because they feel like they're alone doing this out in the world and nobody else around them is doing this or interested in this. The other thing I've noticed with many of your patients is self-compassion piece is really big. And you really kind of help them do that because so many of, again, I'm going to come back to women because maybe because it's International Women's Day. But women are a lot harder on themselves than men are from what we notice with our patients. Like men are forgiving of themselves, but women, we have to kind of teach them to forgive themselves and to have that self-compassion.
Yeah, and I just want to just add to what Dr. B was saying. So no one's going to do this perfectly out of the, you know, starting block. And, you know, once they're, you know, doing well, let's say they're eating a salad most days of the week and, you know, they go on a vacation and they come back and they get off that habit and they just come in and they just feel so terrible. I said, this is a new habit. This is not, you know, you were used to eating your usual meal for 20, 30, 40 years, and you were eating a salad regularly for 3, 4 weeks. it's not a big deal that you got off of this. We just slowly say, okay, we do it with intention and we do it with compassion. And this is, this is not anything that we're trying to do perfectly. We're just trying to make choices that are more in alignment with our health goals and underlying values, just reminding ourselves, just being forgiving to ourselves, as Dr. V was saying. And this really allows them to kind of stay on the journey and really makes it sustainable. So thank you for bringing that.
I want to give a shout out actually to Dr. Kristen Neff.
Yes.
She is at UT Austin and has done a lot of great research. And I just recently read her book on self-compassion and it's helped me. And so very beneficial.
Yeah, self-compassion is something we're not taught, and especially women. The reason why we're so much harder on ourselves is because we feel like we have to control everything. We feel like we have everything to do, whether we work outside the home, control the situations in the home, cook and shop and pay the bills and do all the things. We feel like our basket is overloaded. And so when we sidestep on our intentions and our goals, we feel like, well, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough, this or that, but nothing is perfect in this whole world. So that also includes you. It's okay to start over, to lay down the excuses and give yourself space to grow, because that's what this is about.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah. So we've talked about lifestyle medicine and moving into a plant slant, which I absolutely love that term. Let's talk about how you are impacting the community right now. We've talked a lot about what's happening in the clinic, but what I want to talk about is Peaceful Planet and this beautiful initiative that I have had the distinct pleasure to be a part of. And I hope that will continue for a very long time. Where would you like to start?
Maybe I'll give sort of a rough, kind of a little thing on Peaceful Planet, just to kind of introduce folks to the community. So we have been really blessed in the sense that mindfulness sort of came into my life in 2013. And then lifestyle medicine came into our life 2017. And all these wonderful tools, they've just been so instrumental in our own growth. We have become physically healthy, emotionally, better well-being, and just, I would even say spiritually, we have gained a lot. So it has done a lot for us. And so that's what we kind of started Peaceful Planet with that sort of mindset, that how can we bring these tools to individuals and especially kids who may not necessarily get exposed to these tools. So our main focus initially was how to bring mindfulness into schools, and we're still doing that. So we are at 3 schools in the 3rd Ward area of Houston. We have a yoga teacher who does a mindfulness program.
Several yoga teachers.
Yeah. And, they teach the kids breathing exercises, yoga, age-appropriate mindfulness meditation. We give them a healthy plant-based snack, and they do a little reflection, sort of a 5M program. And the other thing we did was always to spread plant-based eating or eating more plants into the community. And, we had put on retreats, and that was part of what Peaceful Planet did. And then I had folks coming into, other folks who are doing this, who see the value of mindfulness meditation, who see the value of eating more whole plant foods. And they said, okay, you're doing wonderful work with the kids, but what about the adults in the community? So it's different things. I can't take credit for the Healthy Together initiative myself. Several people approached me that, they want to do something in the community. So this is really a collaborative effort. We have psychologists part of this program. We have social workers from Baylor College of Medicine. We have other physicians. We have folks who are part of the Plant Pure Network. This is one of the pods that they really advocate for whole food, plant-based way of life. So there's a lot of folks that we knew in the Houston area, and kind of putting everyone's talents and interests together, we created this program in the community where we're going to be doing 8 sessions over 16 weeks. And we really cover all of lifestyle medicine, not just the science, but how can you adopt this in your busy everyday life? So we talk about nutrition, we talk about strategies and how to bring healthier foods into your life. We talk about exercise, we talk about stress management, emotional resilience, about compassion. So all the things we've been talking about is part of this program, and we have different sessions.
Yeah, that's a good summary, because it's not just the information, it's the how of it and the community of it, which is what the Healthy Together initiative provides. So having mental health specialists like Danielle give a talk about emotional resilience and also lead the group support session on that topic is very beneficial. And then we have exercise specialists, because the next one coming up is going to be on exercise. So yeah, it's just great to have a whole bunch of people. The other thing about the initiative that I think is very successful is every participant, I guess, also gets a buddy. So their buddy helps them through the process during these 16 weeks. So if they have any questions about any of the things, they reach out to their buddy. Their buddy checks in on them to see how they're doing and if they need help with any part. That has been, I think, people have formed some really nice relationship, and that's been nice to watch.
It was beautiful to watch the community come together and talk about their struggles, but also just have an open understanding of I'm doing my best, whatever the best looks like right then. And that's really the message that all of us want to send, no matter what capacity we're in, is whatever your best looks like right then, that's the best. Tomorrow could be different.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to put a little buzz as we were talking about the community, thinking about the fact that people are listening to this. Maybe when we get through this, maybe we should do a virtual kind of packaged piece to all of this, and people can join in whenever they can. I'm putting that out there. We don't have to do it. I'm just saying maybe that's a good idea.
It definitely allows you to reach more people virtually.
Exactly. If there was something that you wished people knew about taking care of themselves, about stepping into the Plant Slant, about the mental, emotional, physical, whatever it is, what would it be?
So I just want people, you can do all the research, you can talk to your friends, but at some point you have to decide, you have to take a little bit of leap of faith. Because, even if there's lots of research, even if it worked for your sister or some friend, it has to work for you.
Right.
And you have to decide, okay, you're never going to get to a point and analyze everything. We can kind of get analysis paralysis sometime,
right,
or think this is not the right time, I'm too busy. So whatever your sort of deepest values and aspirations are, just kind of using that as fuel and just kind of getting started. Okay. Getting started is one of the hardest things. Okay. It doesn't mean that once you're started, you're going to be doing everything perfectly. Right. It just means you've aligned your life or made just small changes. And this is where I really kind of spend a lot of time when folks are first starting, because a lot of times, they come in and they really want to make big changes. And I said, okay, just small changes over time are going to give you the results you're looking for. Yes. The main and most important thing is getting started and just kind of showing up. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just need to get started and do it with intention and do it with compassion. And if you need expert help, like you mentioned, get a health coach, work with a physician, work with a counselor, right, whatever that looks like for you.
Personal trainer or whichever aspect.
Right. And whatever you can afford at this time. If you can't afford very much, there are so many free resources that you can access, yoga classes and meetups, and really just getting started. I mean, that seems to be people just don't have, oftentimes they just don't feel like they can do it. But I really want to encourage your listeners that you have the power. You are going to be able to do this once you've said, okay, this is something that's important to me. This is something that aligns with my values. Just get started.
Yeah, and just knowing that you're worth it. Because oftentimes it seems like it's a lot of work, but you would do that work sometimes for your kids or for other people, but not for yourself. You've got to remember to take care of yourself because you're worth it. I remind my patients to put on their oxygen mask first. Right. And then they'll be able to help their family and their kids and their colleagues and their community so much more when they are healthier and happier. And the other thing that I want to end with is, again, coming back to that self-compassion piece, because when you start on the path, you are going to get off at times. foods. And that's okay. The self-compassion is what's going to help you get back on track. Kristen Neff talks about kind compassion and fierce compassion. And fierce compassion is something that's kind of new for me. But kind compassion kind of is like forgiving of what you accidentally ate, a few cookies or if whatever you didn't intend to do. But fierce compassion is moving forward. I want to try to do what's best for my health and for myself. So fierce compassion is I don't want to put junk in my body and I want to feed myself healthy foods and I want to go for a workout because I love myself that fiercely.
Yeah. And I want to add another piece to that is to continue to be curious.
Yes.
Right? Continue to be curious, continue to research, continue to know this doesn't work for me. So what is the opposite? And when you're curious like that, it does open up things that you never thought were possible. Look what has come from a Facebook ad. So much work, so much beautiful intention and health and prosperity has come from just a Facebook ad. So keep your mind open to everything, close to nothing, and get curious. Most definitely. I love your website. I want to talk about that really quickly because if you are interested in moving into something new for yourself, your website does have lots of different recipes and lots of different information. So could you give us where to locate that?
So, folks that are seeing us in the clinic, they can find us on Lifestyle Docs. So it's one word, DOCS, Lifestyle Docs. And I think it's the same thing on Facebook.
Lifestyledocs.com. Yeah. And we are on Facebook and Instagram.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. And Peaceful Planet Foundation, we also have a website and it's just peacefulplanetfoundation.org. And we also have a Facebook account, Instagram account, and YouTube for our nonprofit.
And Danielle Van's on our YouTube for when she did a talk for our last retreat in October.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think we have some classes that we did during the pandemic too. So they're
they're on the YouTube too, right?
Yeah. So lots of great information there to really dive in and hear different speakers and different conversations. And there's lots of recipes. There's all kinds of resources for you right there. So go there and check it out.
And I also want to say that we do for our patients every first and third Saturday, meditation at 9:00, and then usually yoga 9:45 or some other exercise thing. And that's also available on Zoom. Since the pandemic, we took it as a hybrid thing to where there are patients sitting in the clinic and there are also patients or non-patients. It's open to the community. Yeah. So it's open to anyone. And the Zoom link is right on our website. You go under events and you can just click there Saturday morning at 9:00 and join us for meditation.
I love that. So 9:00 Central for anyone listening across the world. This is a global community. You have access to two of my favorite people right there on Saturday morning. So definitely log in and check that out. So I end this podcast the same way, no matter who the guest is. And it is by asking you, could you provide us 3 things that you have gratitude for?
Yeah, so I can go first. I mean, I have gratitude that I was able to find mindfulness, into my life. And then lifestyle medicine would be the second. And the third would be this young lady sitting right next to me.
So now I have to use that as one of mine.
You're very lucky, Dr. M.
I am grateful for my family, including Munish. Grateful for having found lifestyle medicine late in our career, 20 years after, being physicians, because it's given like a new spark. A lot of our colleagues are feeling physician burnout, feeling like they're working hard, but their patients continue to get sicker. So it's really nice to have lifestyle medicine come in to where we can share that with our patients and also see our patients get healthier. And it's about health and wellness. And again, bringing in healthcare and not just sick care like we had been focusing on. And the third thing I'm grateful for is the community I found on this path. People like Danielle, people in the mindfulness community, in the yoga community, in the plant-based community, all of these gardening community now, all the people we've found on this path have been so influential in terms of helping me grow further.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. is we want to be 1% better each and every day and doing something that supports us mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. And if you do that, then you do get to a place where you do have a prosperous and abundant life, and you find self-love, and most importantly, inner peace. I can't thank you both enough for your time, for your information, for all the work that you are doing, and just being here to help educate everyone that this isn't a hard path. We can do this, and especially if we have a community. So thank you both.
You're most welcome. We really enjoyed being here, and thank you for all the wonderful work that you're doing, Danielle.
Thank you both. If you are inspired to take your health into your own hands and do the work that it takes to feel better on all levels, check out Dr. M and Dr. B's website at mbLifestyleDocs.com. That's EMBEE lifestyledocs.com. There you will also find tons of resources, recipes, and ways to join the community for weekly meditation and yoga. That's free. You can also find out more about Peaceful Planet on the website, www.peacefulplanet.com. You can also check out YouTube, where there's tons of free lifestyle information, even classes and speeches that I've made as a part of the organization. Simply search Lifestyle Docs. Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast. If you've enjoyed these tips for bettering your life and are seeking daily inspiration and additional tools and tips, you can follow me on social media at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. You can also visit the show notes, my blog, or my website at getyourlifetogethergirl.com. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.